Hey, welcome back to the Crash Space. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Scenario 3. We're basically halfway through our Sinister Motives expert campaign, playing Protection Magik. This has been very difficult so far. Our first two scenarios against Venom and against Sandman have been long, they've been arduous, they've been quite tricky. I'm hoping that Scenario 3 here will both be a bit faster and also a bit easier. We're playing against Mysterio, as much as Mysterio has some cool tricks. If you want to know more about the deck, the first video in the series against Sandman, we break down every card and all our choices. The only difference here is that we have hit our aspect advantage, which is something that we got through the reputation track. We'll bring that up in a moment. But in short, we're allowed to pick a full playset of a card from an aspect outside of our deck and add, again, a full playset of those cards to our deck. So we added 3 copies of Clear the Area to our deck. This is just such a staple card in Justice, and we are playing Protection. We have an issue that thwarting is not our strongest suit, so adding 3 of these to our deck, which removes 2 thwart, which lines up really well with solo, and allows you to draw a card. If we play this for free off the top of the deck with Magik, we are gaming. That's really quite good. So this is a staple. We're going to try it out and see if that helps out some of our protection woes. And with that, let's look at Mysterio. So our main scheme here starts with Maze of Mirrors. We're playing on Expert. We're using all the recommended encounter sets. So we're playing with Mysterio 2 and 3 because we're playing on Expert. And the 2 encounter sets are Personal Nightmare and Whispers of Paranoia. These are really interesting sets. Not only are these cards going to be shuffled into our deck, and we'll talk about that in a second, a lot of these side schemes or a lot of these encounter cards, they interact with our Nemesis set, either our Nemesis minion or our Nemesis side scheme. So we're going to have to be kind of, dealing with our past. For those who are not familiar, Mysterio is this sort of like special effects master in some ways who has this magic, this ability to make you perceive things that aren't there, and that can haunt us really easily. Now the setup says to put a shifting apparition minion into play, engage with each player. So we start with this minion here. This is a 1/1/1 minion. And I actually am really stoked that we're starting with this. I'll bring this up in a second. Otherwise, we'll flip over Maze of Mirrors. This is the first of 2 main schemes. So if this is completed, we don't lose the game. Now it comes in with 8 per player. So once this hits 8, it will advance. It says each turn of a corner reveals countless copies of yourself. Shattered panes rebound seamlessly to whole, and every attempt to circumnavigate the labyrinth forces you deeper within. Defeating Mysterio may be the only means of escape. It starts with 2 threat, technically 3 threat because of our reputation track. We'll get to that in a second. Now, the Force Interrupt says when you would draw or discard an encounter card from your deck, deal it to yourself as a face down encounter card and then draw a card. This is a really interesting mechanic. So as you'll see, we have our deck of cards and we're going to be taking cards from the counter deck and shuffling into our deck. Now, there might be an obvious problem here is that I'm playing with non-opaque sleeves. I have clear sleeves here, so you can really tell with the orange and the blue back when we're going to be drawing an encounter card. The Sinister Motives campaign booklet just says like that is going to happen. There's no way around it. The best you can do is when you shuffle, don't look at your deck. So we'll be making very good eye contact when we're shuffling this. Now that means, of course, we'll see it if it's on the top of the deck, as much as Magik will see it if it's on the top of the deck anyways, but sometimes you get a glimpse of where it is coming up in on your deck. Now, if you play with 2 color sleeves for encounter deck and your heroes deck, that's going to be an issue anyways, but they just say roll with it. It'll be okay. So again, we'll shuffle kind of looking at the camera. Otherwise, let's check out Mysterio really quickly. So we're using Mysterio 2 here, coming in with 17 health, no other abilities, scheming's for 2, attacking for 2. And it says when revealed in player order, shuffle the top card of the encounter deck into each player's deck. Now, our encounter deck is going to be standard and expert, and then all of these. Now we have a couple things to shuffle in that are part of the campaign setup. That actually happens after you do the basic setup. So these cards that we'll be adding in cannot be shuffled into our deck. So I'm going to shuffle this first, and then we'll shuffle a card into our deck. Now, while I'm doing this, it says Creeping Fear, Forced Response. After Mysterio resolves a boost card during any activation, place that card on the bottom of your deck if it has an illusion trait. And so a bunch of the Mysterio cards, and I think some of the Whispers of Paranoia and Personal Nightmare cards have that illusion trait. That doesn't have any inherent rules text, but that will be on the bottom of our deck. And so once we get to the bottom of the deck, whenever we try and draw or discard one of these encounter cards, it's set aside for us waiting for the next encounter phase, but then we draw a different card instead. So we don't lose card draw, but that means if this fires a bunch, when we get to the bottom of our deck, we might have 3 to 5 encounter cards waiting for us, which that's usually not good for you. So we'll shuffle this up. Again, this card is going to be in our deck for the mulligan, which is a bit awkward. So we'll just put 1 card in there. We still have to shuffle our deck, so I'll get to that. And then we can put this aside. We're going to do the campaign setup really quickly. So of course, we're starting with Public Outcry. Oh my God, Public Outcry is just the worst. On Expert, it comes in with that hazard icon. So we're drawing an additional encounter card, and we only can remove the 3 counters. Each counter is if you defeat a minion or a side scheme. This is why I'm excited to start with these shifting apparitions. And we're going to actually start with the second shifting apparition. In theory, this should have been in the deck when I shuffled it, but we'll pull it out automatically because of some more setup stuff. There's enough in the deck, so that's not an issue. But we're going to be starting with these 2 small minions, and that helps a lot to be able to deal with this thing. Into the deck, we're shuffling into Smear Campaign. This is a card that we're hoping not to draw early because it makes Public Outcry a lot worse. We're shuffling in a Spiked Gauntlet. This was part of the Osborne tech. We drew this randomly. And then we have this new card called Snitches Get Stitches, which is a card that will attach to Venom. We haven't talked about Venom yet, but we start with Venom in play, who's now joined our party. But these cards will be shuffled into the encounter deck, not our deck, alongside randomly one of these 4 community services. So we'll do 1 to 4. We're going to be off the rails. So we have to rescue this train car before it goes off the track. We only have like 1 or 2 turns to do that if it shows up. Let me give this another shuffle. All right, that's that. Let's look at the shifting apparitions. These are really cool minions. They work really well for us. These are 1/1/1s, so 1 health. They have guard, 1 attack, 1 scheme. But when defeated, if you ever defeat these with excess damage, so if you ever do more than 1 damage to them, you have to shuffle the top card of the counter deck into your deck. So you're highly incentivized to do only exactly 1 damage. What's lucky for us is Magik actually does have 2 attack, but we are starting with this campaign card called Wave Bracers that gives us +1 defense, gives us steady and retaliate, but it gives us -1 attack. Which means not only will it retaliate perfectly defeat a shifting apparition, which might fire our change of fortunes, which our deck is based around, but also we can just do a basic attack. We delete these shifting apparitions without worrying about it. Giving ourselves retaliate 2, which we can do, actually does become a problem. So we're going to get rid of those relatively soon. Now we start with Venom. Venom's massive 4-cost ally. We get it for free on the beginning of the game. 2 thwart, 3 attacks, 6 health, 1 consequential each, so fantastic stats. However, as a response, after you reveal an encounter card, you can choose to deal a damage to Venom to deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of icons on both kinds of boost icons on the card's boost area. Now Venom, just like Public Outcry, has that hazard icon on it, which means on turn 1 we're drawing 3 encounter cards. That's really rough. That means often you can block with Venom in the first attack from the villain and hope Venom gets defeated before you draw encounter cards. But I think it's more likely that Venom will survive 2 rounds. We'll try and make sure for all the encounter cards we're drawing from all the hazard icons, we'll just make sure Venom can do as much damage as possible to Mysterio and then probably leave as a blocker or something on round 2. So we're going to be drawing 3 encounter cards, no way around that. I'm going to shuffle our deck. We just got to flip this over and we'll give it a good shuffle. Oh, and lastly, of course, we have the setup with a reputation track. So we have to do the good stuff on the left and the bad stuff on the right equal to what we've unlocked. So this is why we have the Osborne tech card, why we added an additional threat, and it says set up in player order. Each player must search the encounter deck and discard pile for a minion and put that minion in play with them. That's why we have 2 shifting apparitions. There is another shifting apparition in the deck, so it's not like we could have shuffled into our deck and brick that. On our side, though, we start with our Wave Bracers and we get an additional mulligan. So we can mulligan twice, which is quite nice. We like to set up consistently because we have a lot of work to do. Expert has been quite difficult, and this will hopefully be a bit easier, but not that much easier. All right, we're going to shuffle up the deck and do our 2 mulligans. The first thing I have to do is while shuffling, stare at the camera because I'm going to do 1 cut. And if there's an encounter card on top, so be it. Looks like we're good for now. All right, we are playing Ileana as our alter ego ability. And she says that when we flip up to hero mode, we can grab a spell from our discard pile and put it on top of our deck. Of course, Magik can play the top card of the deck, reducing its cost by 1 once per phase, which means if we get a spell in our opening mulligan, we might actually want to discard it so we can set it up on top of the deck, guaranteed. We, of course, care about the icons on top of our deck, so we have a lot of agency here. We, of course, also start with Venom. Just look at the table. We have 1/1, so these 2 minions, we can defeat 1 by attacking. We can defeat 1 with retaliate. 3 threat we want to deal with. The biggest thing is to deal with Public Outcry. So if we have a Come Get Me bub, we could actually consider playing that as soon as possible just to get a 3rd minion and hope it's another shifting apparition, just because we want to clear this. But it's very likely on round 1 we'll be drawing 3 encounter cards because of Venom and Outcry. But let's mulligan. First card, Soul Sword. This one's actually maybe a bit of a mistake to play on turn 1 sometimes. It gives us piercing on our basic attacks, which I don't think there's that much toughness at all in this scenario, but it gives us +1 attack, which means actually we overkill the shifting apparitions, which we want to make sure that we're not doing that. So we don't want to install this right away, but it's obviously still a good card. We'll put that in the maybe camp. We have Clear the Area. There is 3 threat on the table. So with Venom and Clear the Area, we could clear the main scheme and draw a card. I'll put that in the maybe camp. We have a Change of Fortune. This is fantastic. This says when we defeat a minion or anybody, in fact, during the villain phase, we can draw 2 cards. And that means if we just play Change of Fortune and the shifting apparition attacks us, we'll take 1 damage. Retaliate will take out the apparition. We perfectly kill it. We draw 2 cards. This is a great start. We have Limbo, another fantastic card. And while we're almost guaranteed to lose this at some point in the scenario, that's one of our most important cards for controlling the top of our deck. We have Polaris. Not really into Polaris right now. I don't think it's a super important card to get on the table. Mysterio hits for 2 in a card, so it's not the worst. And we have 3 block to begin. I'll put this in the no camp. And then our last card is Mystical Armor. This also could be a mistake to play on turn 1. It's really, really good, but it gives us Retaliate 2, which from my understanding, that overkills the shifting apparitions. And so that's the bad thing. So I actually don't know if we'll keep this. We might bring it back later, but we're intending to defeat one of these shifting apparitions with Retaliate. So I'll put this in the no camp and hopefully we get it back with a stepping disc. So if that's the case, I don't think we want +1 attack on this turn. think I like these so far, and then we can do Clear the Area Venom for the main scheme. I think we can throw these away, and then we can definitely bring them back with Stepping Disc. So I'm going to mulligan these. I think there might be a chance we should keep Soul Sword, but actually keeping us at 1 attack, funny enough, makes a bit of sense in this scenario. All right, we have, oh, it's an encounter card. It was off the top. I didn't even notice that was off camera, but this is off the top. So in theory, we do draw it. So I guess we see what the text is. And that means we know that the first encounter card we're going to be drawing is an exhaustion. Now, of course, this is replaced, so this waits for us. But because this is an exhaustion, that means we're heavily incentivized to block the first attack, because if we're blocked, we are exhausted, and then we don't have to worry about half the text on this card. So that will wait for us. And the text on Maze and Mirrors says that when you would do that, you draw a card instead. So this is still our 4th card. It's an Armored Vest. Not the most important card to set up, but it's definitely not bad. We can get up to 5 block on turn 1. It's pretty good. So 2 more cards. We have Magic Barrier. I definitely don't want to keep this. This is a card that's good for blocking, but I don't think we really need it. And then we have a Powerful Punch, which I don't think we're going to keep. So just to go over this, Change of Fortune, we play for 1. Limbo, we play for 1. Clear the Area, we play for 1, replacing itself. So we have a bunch of cheap cards. I'm okay keeping these and just drawing 2 more cards and hoping for the best. Like X-Gene would be really good here, as it usually is on turn 1. We have a Soul Strike. Okay, that's a stun. We don't really care about the stun too much on turn 1 because we want Mysterio to attack us because we're going to be exhausted anyway, so we might as well block. But we can always throw that out and put it on top of our deck. And we have a Scrying, which is really quite good for setup. And these are our 6 cards. We're off. All right, so we're going to attack a Shifting Apparition. We're going to defeat the other one with Retaliate. Our goal is to put something cool on top of the deck with Scrying so that we can play it for free. In worst case scenario, we play Scrying twice, flip down, put Scrying on top of our deck, scry twice, so we get card advantage. Put a token here to remember when we've magicked. I'll put a token here for our identity. And I think we're just going to start here with Scrying. So we look at the top 3, the Meditation, another Clear the Area, and an Energy. Funny enough, Energy doesn't line up well with our hand. And we want to put something on top of the deck that we can play cheaply. So we could put a Clear the Area on top of the deck, but we're going to put a spell on top of that. So we could put Clear the Area on top and then Scrying on top. So I think I'm going to throw out the Energy. What 2-cost cards can we draw that we're happy to play with Energy? It's weird that I'm not honestly sure about that. So Meditation gives us more cards. We'll put Clear the Area on top and actually throw out this Energy. I feel strange about that, but I don't think we have anything that plays really well. I don't think we want to play Soul Strike necessarily on this turn. So this is face down. We could do Meditation again to break lock. Oh yeah, actually no, I think before we flip up, we'll play the Spiritual Meditation. So we'll draw 2, and then we can discard any card from our hand. So of course we knew Clear the Area. The next card is Jocasta. Jocasta would have been a reasonable thing to play with the double, but we're going to discard a card here. There's no shot that we need to clear the area, so we can discard that. And now when we flip up, we can set the top of the deck to be the Scrying and play that, and then just play one of these Limbos. So now we'll flip up. When we flip up, of course, we can put a spell on top of our deck using Ileana's text. And we're going to go ahead and just put the Scrying on top of the deck, which gives us the most control over this turn. And we're going to play the Scrying once per turn from the top of the deck. That means we can't play anything else from the top of the deck. So you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that. I want to find a cheaper card that we actually get the savings off of. Because if we play this, it's fine too. Magic's ability reduces the cost by 1. So we hopefully want to find something that reduces the cost by 1. So I'm going to pitch Jocasta after Venom thwarts for 2. So that's down to 1. We're going to pitch Jocasta to play Clear the Area. That will remove the last thread here. And that means we draw the Scrying. So we see the card underneath it, which is a Spiritual Meditation. All right. Hopefully now with this Scrying, we'll set up the top of the deck. So we'll look at 3, and that means we can't see the card underneath it. Okay. So one of these goes on top. I think it's no shot that Sorcerer Supreme doesn't go on top. We play that for 1, which is quite nice. And then we can put 1 in the bin, 1 in our hand. So here, Sorcerer Supreme is on top of our deck. We want to play this as soon as possible. It gives us +1 hand size. So let's see what our priorities are here, because we can play this for 1. We can play basically 3 cards here. And so I think our most important 3 cards are, we'll play Limbo. This gives us a bit of a control. We could have always, I think we should always consider playing this earlier on the turn, because it means we can set up the top of the deck. And there might have already been a better line this turn if we play Limbo first and then actually control the top of our deck. We'll play Sorcerer Supreme for 1 as well, pitching the Armored Vest. This just gives us +1 hand size. Another Change of Fortune on the top of the deck. We don't need that because we'll play this Change of Fortune, which just says if we defeat an enemy during the villain phase, draw 2 cards, which is quite nice. Magic's going to attack for 1, defeating the Shifting Apparition. This thing has no text because the minion was defeated without excess damage, so that goes into the discard pile. And I don't think we want to shift a card from our hand, so we just pass here. And we're going to block for sure because we know an exhaustion is coming up. We now draw up to 6 hand size because Sorcerer Supreme gives us 6. So we get 1. We have Magic's Crown that gives us Steady, which we already have, but +1 thwart can matter. Come Get Me Bub if we would need to grab another minion, which we might consider. X-Gene, unfortunately, only can play that in Alter Ego. We have a Riposte, which is some good damage, and then a Soul Strike. The top of the deck is a Stepping Disc, which we can't play in the villain phase. Now, before anything happens here, we can use Limbo to flip a card from our hand to the top of the deck. I would actually consider putting Riposte on top of the deck, just because playing it for free here is pretty reasonable. because we know we're going to block for sure. So we might as well do some extra damage to Mysterio and start working on that. Otherwise, I don't think there's a huge card in our hand we want to put on the top of the deck. So we'll swap Stepping Disc with Riposte and Exhaust Limbo. All right, Maze of Mirrors goes to 1. Mysterio's now attacking for 2 and a card. We're going to block because we know we're going to be exhausted. So we're blocking for 3, and we'll play Riposte for free off the top of the deck using Magik's once per turn ability. So we're blocking for 5. If we take no damage, we do 3 damage back. So Mysterio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is such a cool card. And we have to make sure that none of these boost cards have the illusion trait. This one doesn't have the illusion trait. This is a really cool card to see because it does have victory on it, which is surprising. So that's 3 boost icons. So Mysterio hits us for 5. We're blocking for 5. So we take no damage. So Mysterio takes 3 damage from Riposte and 1 from Retaliate, down to 13. All right, next up is the Shifting Apparition. It's going to attack us for 1. We're not going to block at all. So we'll take the 1, but then Shifting Apparition is defeated to Retaliate damage and it doesn't take excess. We tap Change of Fortune and draw 2 cards. So we should have seen the top of the deck as a Come Get Me bub. We'll draw that. We'll draw the second card, which is Legion. And we have an Exorcism waiting if we want to get it confused here. Now, this is where we draw a lot of encounter cards. And here we need to be very aware, mind you, Venom is ready, of Venom's text, because we probably want to fire Venom as many times as we can, especially when we see some big icons here. So we're going to be drawing 1 base card and then 2 more because of the 2 hazard icons. So first card, we know this, Exhaustion. So this says Surge, when revealed, exhaust your identity. So we are already exhausted, which is good. So we get another card here and we're going to take 1 damage on Venom to do 2 damage to Mysterio. Hopefully we find a minion or side scheme here. Mysterio is already down to 11. Next up, Manipulated Mind. So this should be an attachment. When revealed, attach to the ally you control with the lowest cost. It cannot this card gain Surge. Oh, that's really bad. Treat attached ally as a minion with blank text box. So we can't do that ability anymore. And attached minion scheme is equal to thwart. It does not take consequential. So it's, unfortunately, we lost Venom. And so Venom now is just a full downside, which is a minion with that icon on it. So that sucks. We lost a lot of damage this turn. Next up, another Shifting Apparition. Well, at least we have some cheap minions we can deal with. And Shifting Apparition is a nice way to fire Change of Fortune consistently. So that's good. Oh, this should have been down to 2, mind you, or 1, because we defeated a minion. Super important. We have Humongous Hallucination. There's not a lot of cards that give the villain +3 attack. So attach to Mysterio. It says spend a resources of any time and shuffle the top 2 cards of the counter deck into your deck to discard this card. We'll probably have to do that. Being attacked for 5 is not super sustainable. And our last card is Dark Child. So this is actually kind of interesting. So this is our obligation. You may flip to Alter Ego, which sometimes is a benefit, especially because we're holding X Gene. That would be a nice thing to play. And then either we exhaust Ileana, which we can't do, or we deal 1 damage to each character you control. Luckily, it's only us. So this gives us a free flip and 1 damage, which I think we definitely have to take the damage. The question is whether we get to flip, and I don't see why not. Now, this is not removed from the game. It'll just be discarded. And it's back to us. All right. So we lose this. As much as we know on the top of the deck, there is an Exorcism that has an energy icon. Our hand has enough damage. So if we Soul Strike Venom, it solves our Public Outcry problem, and then we actually have a relatively good setup. Those weren't the worst encounter cards. We would have sent all the damage from Venom into Mysterio and almost flatlined Venom, but yeah, otherwise not too bad. This Humongous we need to deal with. It says shuffle the top 2 cards in the counter deck into your deck. Those could be random cards. They might not be illusions. I want to shout out the 1 card that I'm really worried about getting into our deck as soon as possible is Deja Vu. We haven't seen one yet, but this card is super frustrating when you're playing solo, because when you're playing solo, you can't shuffle this into somebody else's deck. So you'll just continually draw the same card over and over again, and it'll either whittle you down or add threat. There's just no way of getting rid of this at all. This card we have to watch out for. I think there's 2 in the counter deck. Now, to get rid of Humongous, what do we have to do? 2 resources? 1 resource. Okay, so we'll get that done. We no longer have to play Come Get Me Bub, so I think guaranteed we're going to play X Gene. You can only play this when you're a mutant, which means functionally Alter Ego for most of the X-Men characters, if not all the X-Men characters. We want to play Soul Strike for sure. Exorcism is not super necessary. We know that's on top of the deck, so we can set up our top of the deck with something. Stepping Disc is a really nice play too. Sorry, I didn't show. Soul Strike is 4 damage, and we can get a stun potentially. We'd actually like to stun Mysterio, so we can set up the top of our deck with a physical icon off of putting a spell on top of the physical. I think it would just be Magic Barrier. Or we can do that in the other order, and we can Stepping Disc first. I'm not sure how to do that if we want the top of the deck to be our icon, but still have a reasonable turn. The rest of this hand, Magic's Crown is okay. We don't really need to play any of these cards. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stepping Disc gets played for free with X Gene, which is good. That means if we want to play Soul Strike, that'll be 2 cards. 1 if we put on the top of our deck. So actually what might be reasonable is instead of when we play X Gene, instead of playing Come Get Me Bub, we play Soul Strike. So we can play Soul Strike on top of our deck. Then we play Soul Strike for 1. We know the card underneath it doesn't have a stun icon. So if we don't want to do that, we can get a stun icon on top of the deck by either playing for 1 the top of the deck and hoping the card underneath it is good, That might be an option. Can we play Legion? Legion down would actually be pretty swell because Legion can also like start working on things. The cool thing about Humongous Hallucination too is we care about the top of the deck. So if the top of the deck doesn't have the icon we want, we can always do this, which shuffles our deck. And then we might have the icon on top of our deck that we want then. So I think if that's the case, we'll just flip up here. And of course, then with Ileana's ability, we'll choose to put a spell on top of our deck. This is optional. You can refuse it. We won't. And so I think we'll just put I guess we just put a cheap Soul Strike on top. Yeah, we'll put a cheap Soul Strike on top. So we're going to X-Gene to play the Soul Strike from the top of our deck. This just does 4 damage. We know that this has an energy icon, not the physical or wild we're looking for, and we'll defeat Venom. Venom is defeated, goes into our discard pile. This is cleared, but very importantly, so huge for us, Public Outcry is cleared on turn 1. Again, starting with minions sounds really bad in this encounter set. I think it's actually really good that we start with minions, at least with a 1 attack, because we need to get rid of this as soon as possible. So that's sick, and then we can continue here. Apparition will die to Change of Fortune Retaliate, which is fine. So I'm going to spend a resource to deal with the Humongous. So spend 1 resource, shuffle the top 2 cards of the deck. We don't look at these into our deck and we discard this. So now Mysterio is attacking only for 2. We get some awkward shuffling with some really strong eye contact. So we'll shuffle this 3 times. 1, 2, how you doing? 3, and we'll cut. Okay, so it's not the top card. The top card is a physical. So I think we do want to get a stun here. We can do this Soul Strike from our hand. This costs 2. If we play that, that leaves us with 2 cards here, which is not super playable unless we play Stepping Disc, which we could Stepping Disc. This means we don't set up with Legion. Legion's really good. Legion just keeps thwarting and dealing with the top of our deck. Hey, future editor Andre here. Hopefully you're well. As you might have already begun to hear a bit in the audio, there's some issues. There's some like audio crackling. Things get a bit digital and weird. Turns out Mysterio's powers are quite far reaching. Now, unfortunately, in sections of this video, after I've recorded it and do the editing, I realized the audio just falls out in certain sections. We clearly had some technical issues. Obviously, that's frustrating. And that's why editor Andre here is just going to do a narration track where I'll fly in at a couple points and just explain what I was probably thinking back then when we recorded this. Thank you for your patience. I'll be editing a bit more aggressively in these sections because obviously the nuance of what I was saying might be a bit lost. But with that, let's jump back into the Mysterio gameplay. All right, this turn we have 5 cards in our hand and we do have the Soul Strike. We have the physical on top of our deck, so that's 4 damage and a stun. And before I set that up, I quickly realized, luckily, that the Shadow Apparition, that 1 health minion, unfortunately has guard. So we don't want to send 4 damage into the Apparition because you want to defeat it perfectly with 1 damage. And with Retaliate and Change of Fortune, we can line that up relatively well. So instead, I think we're going to pivot to Legion here. Legion comes in for 3 cards. Such a good ally in this deck because we can control the top of the deck. We can heal, go infinite. We can do 3 damage. We can do a damage and some thwart, 3 thwart. You got a lot of great options. So we're going to drop Legion. We're going to thwart the main scheme and we're going to leave that Apparition to bounce off of us, die to Retaliate, and Change of Fortune will draw us 2 cards. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the problem with Legion activating now to hit a physical icon is healing 2 damage from Legion. Consequential is actually the last thing that happens. So heal 2 damage will happen before Legion takes the 1 damage from Consequential. So the healing is actually entirely useless, as much as it does rip through our deck to help us find better cards, because I'm not sure we want to draw into Powerful Punch. But regardless, we'll use Legion. We'll thwart for 2, so that clears this. We will discard the Powerful Punch, which heals Legion. The Legion's already at full health, and then the Consequential goes through. Top of the deck is an Exorcism. That's good to see. And we'll just pass, holding on to our Stepping Disc. Drag up to 6. We have the extra hand size as a Mystic Hero. We have 2 Stepping Discs. We have the X-Jet. That'd be nice to play if we draw some resources when Shifting Apparition dies, especially that Strength. Last card is an Unflappable, which is also quite good here because our block is quite nice. Top of the deck is an Exorcism, and unfortunately, we know there's an encounter card coming, which if we hit Change of Fortune, we'll draw it. Unfortunate. The sleeves are different colors. Can't help it. This goes to 1. Mysterio now attacks. Attacking for 2 in a card. We got to watch out for that illusion trait on this boost card. We could just take the damage. The most this can do is 5. Whoa, sorry. We have to figure out if we want to limbo first. Do we want to put anything on top of our deck? None of these are really good on top of our deck. We have no reason to put any of these on top of our deck here. So I think we're just going to block for 3 with Magik because our activation is not super useful here. So we'll block for 3. So Mysterio's attacking for 2. It's nowhere safe. So this has a boost icon, but otherwise no more damage done. And this puts 1 on our Pursued by the Past. Once it hits 4, we get our Nemesis set. So that is going to be no damage to us. Mysterio takes Retaliate 1, and that's that. All right, Shadow Apparition's going to attack us. We'll take 1 damage, no problem. And the Retaliate 1 will perfectly defeat the Apparition. Change of Fortune, we'll draw 2 cards. So exactly what our engine wants to do. Now we did draw a card here. We're going to set that aside. We'll be drawing that in a second and drawing another card instead. We know that's a side scheme coming up. And top of the deck now, unfortunately, we saw a card underneath it coming up quite soon. That is going to be waiting for us in just a second. This first one is, no surprise, Weakness from Within. Scheme comes into play. Great art. Master of Scare Tactics. Mysterio uses even the slightest flinch for insight into his victim's phobia. Place one additional threat here for each card in your hand. Oh, that's really bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we figured out how to get to 8 hand size. So this is going to have a massive 9 threat. So punished by our hubris. We saw this coming, but at that point we've already drawn. There's no way to dump cards here. No. So second card is the evil doppelganger. This card's also fascinating. It's a minion that comes in with 5 health. And this is attack and scheme is modified by the amount of identity specific cards in the engaged player's hand. So that means on this turn, we have a lot of work to do. We can definitely get 4 off the weakness from within and maybe confuse Mysterio and consider jumping down. The doppelganger we can set up to deal damage with stepping disc. Oh, Legion is ready. So I think we have a bunch of things we can do here. We need to do 1 damage to doppelganger. And then if we can go get with a stepping disc, a soul strike, that will defeat doppelganger. We also want to set up the top of the deck to have a mental icon, so we can do 4 from this and confuse Mysterio. We are exhausted, so is this. Let's figure this out. So, do we play the X-Jet this turn? It might be responsible. Now our hand has only 1 mental icon in it, so we could trade the mental icon for the top of the deck. It's actually good, and then we'll end up discarding the Unflappable to Legion. So I think that's how we start here. Then we'll use Limbo to swap a card from our hand with the top of the deck, so we'll do this swap right here. Now, we will use Legion. Oh no, we don't want to discard yet. So first, we'll spend 2 resources to play Exorcism. It says remove 4 threat from a scheme, so I'll drop this down. And if the top of the deck is a mental or wild, which it is, we get to confuse the villain. So Mysterio is confused. All right, we got the confused. We got the doppelganger here. This is actually a really interesting turn because we have a lot of agency potentially. We're looking at our hand here. We have the X-Jet, and it's usually better to get the X-Jet down early in the game, but I don't think we're too late for it to be not worth playing. A lot of our hand isn't super playable, so dropping 3 cards for the X-Jet to get that wild resource, we should be able to use the wild resource this turn, feels pretty good. Now here I actually pitch a stepping disc to play for the X-Jet. I think I'm going to undo that and actually trade it with a card in my hand later in this turn because we can play stepping disc. I think I threw out the second copy because we already have 1 in hand, but with the 2 resource generators we have on both X-Jet and X-Gene, the stepping disc is entirely free, so it's a really good card in our hand here. Next, we're going to activate with Legion. We're going to do 1 damage to the doppelganger. 4 is a really big breakpoint. It means that we can defeat the minion when it attacks us using powerful punch, some retaliate, and some magical barrier. And then we're going to discard the top of the deck, which we know is a mental icon to take 1 threat off of the side scheme. Now the card underneath this is Sinister Strike, and this is really cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't have an icon on it, so we're not going to get a confused or any sort of like synergy with our kit. But we know that we're going to be drawing this in the next encounter phase. This means if we jump down to Alter Ego, this card is just going to give 1 counter on the Pursued by the Past and Surge. So we have an incentive here to drop down to Alter Ego, because no matter what, the Pursued by the Past counter will happen. The question is whether we want to be attacked or not. Play Stepping Disc here. We can get something on top of our deck. We don't have any cards that synergize with the top of the deck, but we haven't played the top of our deck yet. So that's a nice setup, and we can play that card for free with X-Gene potentially this turn. So we're going to set up there. We have the Soul Strike, which we can play for 1 off the top of our deck, defeating the doppelganger and just clearing up that issue. So we Soul Strike for 4, clearing the doppelganger. If we're dropping down to Alter Ego, we don't want the doppelganger to stay around because they can scheme for a big number depending on what we draw into our hand. Now I decided to flip down here, and I think I'd take this back because we're left with a Riposte in our hand. And with the X-Jet still having a resource on it, we could have easily, again, when we played the X-Jet, pitched something else. So I'm going to instead swap the card that we kept in our hand for some reason, the Riposte, for another Stepping Disc. So here, at least we can get a ready, which means we can recover. It means we can thwart for 1. We just have more options. So that should have been the card that we kept in the first place. Of course, then to rewind that before we flip down, we're going to play the Stepping Disc, setting up the top of our deck. I think we'll likely go for an Exorcism here because there's a chance there'll be some threat that we have to deal with. We are still risking jumping down because it looks like we're going to get 3 encounter cards as much as one of them has surged. So it'll be a different 3rd encounter card. We're taking some risks here, but it seems like a reasonable time to jump down. We do have that confused. We'll hopefully have another one next turn with the Exorcism we've set up. We'll pass the turn. Drawing 6 cards in Alter Ego. So we have Sinister Strike, of course. So that goes down here and we draw a different card. Genius, cool. We have Colossus, who it's been a while since we've seen him. Another Riposte. We have a Stepping Disc, the final one, and we only have 1 card left in the deck. I think actually 2 cards. Yeah, 2 cards, and we have a Clear the Area. So we haven't shuffled any cards into our deck just yet, which is good. So hopefully Mysterio doesn't shuffle card now because we're hoping Mysterio is not going to activate. This goes to 2. Mysterio would activate, but is confused. We can't Limbo because it's a hero mode thing, and we draw 2 more encounter cards. First encounter card, Sinister Strike. No surprise. All right, Sinister Strike gets that surge. We still have 3 cards to go through. Again, we have that hazard icon we want to get rid of. Second Sinister Strike in a row, pretty unlikely, but that's going to be another counter Pursued by Past. So we're 1 counter away from getting our Nemesis set. Surge again to a 3rd card. And while we're so close to getting our Nemesis, we're going to get it anyways. This is Old Grudge. This grabs your Nemesis, throws it into play, gives it +1 health. This is a very cool card of Whispers of Paranoia that forces you to interact with your nemesis set, whether it's the side scheme, sometimes it can show up, or of course your nemesis itself. So this is Belasco, and Belasco scales up a bit worse if you have the side scheme in play. Otherwise, Belasco is just going to be a 6 or now a 7 health elite minion. When he attacks us, we have to rip the top 3 cards of our deck. Next encounter card, we got a Deepest Fears. Discard cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards in your hand. Okay, so we can only discard 2. So we discard 1, 2. We bottom out, so we get another encounter card, and then we immediately shuffle these back. Remember, it's 1 card in our set, 1 card that's not in our set. If at least 1 identity-specific card was discarded this way, place 1 threat on the main scheme. If no identity-specific cards were discarded this way, take 1 damage. I guess it's a good time to point out that if you're forced to discard cards and your deck runs out or the encounter deck runs out, you don't shuffle and keep discarding. So we only discarded 2 there. Not that it made a difference, but it did go through our deck, and so that does impact the cycle. We'll shuffle this up. Having no spells in the bin when you have it on Ileana's side, like that's not the best. Next card. Drawing nearer. Okay, this means we're going to get our nemesis already. Wait, I don't actually know what happens here. I think Belasco's going to activate against us. So this will fire in a second when our turn starts, and it will guarantee add another counter there. And then finally, we have Delusion of Collusion. So it's good that we have this in Alter Ego. Attach your identity. You cannot ready allies or persona supports. I don't think we have any persona supports, but we do definitely have allies. And as an Alter Ego action, we have to discard an ally to discard this card. So we can easily get rid of Legion if we need to. Now our turn starts, and we have to do Drawing Nearer. The Drawing Nearer says discard the top card of your deck. It's a Soul Strike. And then place 1 pursuit counter on here for each icon and resource icon. So now Pursued by the Past is full. So let's see what happens. This actually can get interesting because if your nemesis is on the table, the text is slightly different. After you place a pursuit counter here, if the number of counters here is at least 4, remove each counter. Okay. If your nemesis minion is play, it activates against you. Otherwise, flip this. So it looks like Belasco is going to activate. So we might actually advance the scheme. Actually, no, it's not very likely. But that means we don't actually get our side scheme because you only flip this over if this doesn't happen. So Belasco is going to scheme for 1 in a card. 3 boost icons on our Snitches Get Stitches. So that's 4. So we are 1 short of advancing. We're at 7 of 8. So we have a lot of work to do. That extra encounter card definitely added up. So we have a lot to deal with. If we want to get rid of Drawing Near, we have to discard a card from our hand. That is from our, that is a magic card. If we want to get rid of Delusion of Collusion, we have to get rid of Legion. We have a Soul Strike, so we can hit Belasco for 4 damage. We can clear weakness from within, drawing a card, which is nice. We have a lot of threat work to do. We have to clear the area set up, but at least before we flip up, we should consider getting rid of Drawing Near. It's harder to deal with later, as much as the counters will be more of a problem later, but we could probably just throw out Colossus here is my guess. So I think the card that we're going to get rid of is unfortunately Colossus. So we'll get rid of the Drawing Near. Then we'll trash Legion to get rid of Delusion. Again, we have to discard an ally persona. Our deck currently has no encounter cards in it, which is a nice thing to kind of keep track of. The worse your deck is, the worse it is to draw cards, but we're going to keep drawing cards, that's for sure. I think here we're going to try and flip up. The question is, what do we put on top of our deck with Ileana? Our only choice is either, it has to be Soul Strike. It's our only spell. So if we want to do that, and I do think we want to play a cheap Soul Strike. So we'll flip it with Ileana, and then we'll go put a Soul Strike on top of our deck. Okay, the stun on the Soul Strike is not super important. So then we're just going to use X-Gene to play it off the top, targeting Belasco. So that's just going to do 4 damage, and we'll see if we have a stun there. In theory, we actually don't want the stun. We don't get the stun, so 7 goes down to 3. Why do we not want the stun? Because if Belasco attacks us and we defeat it with a riposte or retaliate or a powerful punch, we get to draw some cards. So we have Limbo if we wanted the Jocasta. I think Jocasta in her hand is fine here, so I'm going to play the riposte for the clear the area. It's going to remove 2 threat from weakness from within. That had a lot of threat on it, and because we cleared the last threat, we got to draw Jocasta, seeing the card underneath it. That's another exorcism. So Belasco, we have a chance of being able to defeat when he attacks us. We definitely want to get 1 threat off of there at a minimum. So we could do Jocasta for 3. Then we could Stepping Disc and activate twice. If we activate twice, we can get Belasco at least to dying to retaliate range, which is a nice spot to be in. We can't set up the Confuse. Oh, we can set up the Confuse. It's just kind of, no, it's actually not that easy. So the only ways we play our hand is we can play Exorcism, then X-Jet plus Stepping Disc doesn't play Jocasta. So we want to play Jocasta, who can ward 2. Does she have access to a defense event? Yeah, she has access to Riposte, which is nice. So if we want to play Jocasta, and then we can just play Stepping Disc. I think that's fine. So we'll X-Jet and Genius for Jocasta. Coming in with 3 health is ready. We can go grab a defense event from our bin. Our only option is Riposte. It's nice to have that. It's not our favorite. We'd rather have a Magical Barrier, I'll be honest. And then I'm going to thwart with Jocasta, taking 2 damage, dropping this to 5. Now the counter discard pile, we haven't drawn a Drawing Nearer. That's the card that says the villain just schemes, and that will be an issue. It's very likely we'll advance. It's guaranteed we advance on this board state. Now for Magik, what attack are we going to block with Magik? We really need to draw a powerful punch. If we draw one of our 3 powerful punches in our 6-card hand size on the top of the deck, we'll be really good to deal with Belasco. The issue is like Mysterio is going to attack, and then Belasco is going to attack. If we Jocasta into Mysterio to block, it's like we lose a bit of value there because we lose the riposte. but ideally we want to also block into Blasco. Oh yeah, we only have one to retaliate 1. So we're going to attack for 1 into Blasco. Then we're going to play Stepping Disc. Let's choose a Magik card, ready yourself, put it on top of your deck. It's a Magic card. So we actually could put in Colossus. That's probably our best case. Because now we can play Colossus as a blocker. This means for Magik now we have to attack for 1 more. We're just hoping we don't advance here on our single encounter card, and then we'll pass. Drawing up to 6. Colossus, Exorcism. We have a Scrying. We have another Riposte. No powerful punch so far. Spiritual Meditation. Our 6th extra card is an Unflappable. Now we could be on the top of the deck, but we have a Soul Sword there. And here we can decide to Limbo to swap a card on top of our deck if we want to. Colossus on the top of the deck saves us a resource, which is pretty nice, and it gives us a wild there, which is pretty nice. So we'll do that. Maze of Mirrors is at 6. Mysterio is attacking for 2 and a card. We want to block with Colossus. Blasco's defeated, we draw 2. Blasco's going to be defeated no matter what, but we want to block Colossus into Mysterio. We'd rather block ourselves into Blasco. So we'll play Colossus from the top of our deck. Again, Magik's ability says once per phase play the top of the deck, so villain phase is a different phase, which is great. And Colossus says when you're being attacked, you can play this from your hand, and it blocks. So I'm going to pitch 1, 2 with the X-Jet to play Colossus, who's going to become the blocker and come in immediately. So we played from the top of our deck this phase, so we'll have to flip that for the hero phase. That's Colossus, 3 health, great text, still ready, is tough, and Mysterio is attacking for 2 and a card. Not an illusion. This has no boost icons on it. It's Deepest Fears, the one that forces you to discard from the top of your deck. So Mysterio does only 2 damage and takes the top off. Now Blasco is going to activate for 1 and a card. Here we're going to block with Magik, so we're going to be blocking for 3. That should be enough. If we take a bit of damage, we're not too stressed. So Blasco's attacking. Fearmonger as a boost icon. So it says choose to either spend 2 mental resources or deal this card as a face down encounter card, and this discards your hand. I actually kind of like our hand, I'll be honest. We have an Exorcism, which is super nice. We don't know the top of the deck. We do now. It's a powerful punch. Wait, we had a powerful punch. Hold on, we messed this up. Wait, we should have seen this because we played Colossus. So we're not going to block. Oh, we can't play the powerful punch because we played her once per phase. Now this Fearmonger boost is interesting. Either we have to discard our hand, potentially draw a new hand, or of course throw out 2 mental resources. I don't think I realized I have 5 cards on hand here, so if I do that, I actually draw this and go up to 6 hand. But in theory, it actually matters, because if we defeat Blasco to the Retaliate, which is going to happen in a moment, we would draw 2 cards, we'd be up at 7 cards, then we have to discard 7 cards to draw into 6. I think I missed that while I was playing, but I think here we have 2 mental cards in our hand we don't mind getting rid of. We don't need more card draw here, and I like the cards that we have. We can cheaply set those up with our resource generators. Looks like we're going to throw out 2 cards here. Just take 1 damage from Blasco and then Retaliate into Change of Fortune. We'll be drawing back up to a healthy 5 hand size. I think I'll do a quick rules check to see if the force response will fire before or after Retaliate damage defeats Blasco. My research has said that the Retaliate happens first, so we don't have to worry about milling 3 cards off the top of our deck. Change of Fortune, draw 2, kind of how we want the deck. The top of the deck is a crown. We draw 1 encounter card. This is off the rails. This is one of the community service cards. So we have I think 2 turns to deal with this thing. This is Surge, comes in with 3 counters. I think we have like 1 turn to deal with this. When the villain phase begins, place a speed counter here. If there are at least 2 speed counters on here, remove this from the game. So we have functionally 1 turn to deal with this, if I'm reading that correctly. It doesn't do anything besides give us victory. Fearmonger, this also has Surge. Discard your hand, drop to your hand size. So we're going at least from 5 cards to... Wait, we could have done that all anyways. Go from 5 cards to 6 cards. Why didn't we do that in the first place? Well, we'll do it now. So we draw 1, 2. We have a disc, 2 powerful punches, a spiritual meditation, and a soul strike. The top of the deck is a clear the area. Evil doppelganger. Okay, so we have some damage to do. 5 health. This thing, of course, scales with the amount of cards in our hand of our hero's type. Okay, so this is at 6. This is at 3. We are just pinging Mysterio down for a bit of damage slowly. I think we're relatively set up. We can play the top of our deck for free. So the top of the deck is a mental icon. If we want to stun Mysterio, we need to put a physical on top. Mocape can clear the area for free. So if that's the case, we are exhausted. So the only way to play this for free, we need to soul strike Doppelganger, which is not great because we can't stun Mysterio. We also could do 1 damage to Doppelganger, just hold on to a powerful punch. And then that's a way that we can defeat the Doppelganger. I think that's actually pretty reasonable. So we might just put powerful punch on top of our deck. And then we can have the soul strike physical on top of our deck. That means, what are we playing off the top of the deck? We can stepping disc for exorcism to get it confused. And then we can deal with 4 from this. I think that's fine too. So I think we'll start there. We'll use X-Gene to play stepping disc. I feel like I could spend a lot of time thinking about the perfect lines on this turn. Man, I probably should. I get stressed. The videos are long. So we're going to put a card on top of our deck, ready ourselves as an exorcism. And we know the icon underneath it will line up well. We can now play this card for 1 cheaper. We know the card underneath it we can add to our hand with a spiritual meditation. So we are just going to play the exorcism for 1. I'm going to throw out a powerful punch. So this says, remove 4 threat from a scheme. We'll go here. The top card has the icon, which it does, confuse the villain. Okay. So we want to play this. So I guess we meditate first. So we'll do spiritual meditation. So we'll draw 2. While this is resolving, I believe we can see the top card of the deck. It's a Professor X, a Sky. I think we're going to throw out the Crown. Top of the deck is still a Mental. So we can do 3, 4. I think we want to do 1 damage to the Doppelganger. We need to clear this though. So Colossus will thwart for 2, taking 1 consequential. We will clear the area. So that'll finish off the rails, goes into the victory display. And because we completed it, we can draw a card. Wrong deck, almost. Top of the deck is now a Come Get Me Bub. All right, so we need to focus on just doing damage to Mysterio. So powerful punches to the Doppelganger is totally fine. We can set that up by putting it on top of our deck. So I think we'll just do Prof X here for a Mystical Armor. This is the first upgrade that we played. We have a whole set of these and they're really quite good. So this gives us Retaliate 2, which is sick, as much as the apparition sometimes can be an issue into that. And if the top card of our deck has that icon, we get +1 defense. So we are sometimes at 4 defense. Okay, we're going to attack for 1. So this dies to Powerful Punch. We're going to Powerful Punch, swap it with the top of our deck. No, there's no reason to do that. Definitely we could have used that activation. Do we want to thwart 2 for Jocasta? I think we'll keep Jocasta for a chump block if we need it. So we'll just pass. Drawing to 6. Come Get Me Bub. Powerful Punch. We have Venom, who's back. Magic Barrier. That's also really good, but it might defeat Evil Doppelganger. That's a bit cheaper. We have Armored Vest. And then our 6th card is an Energy. Top of the deck is a Strength, which is not useful there, but this is where we can use Limbo to start of the turn to do some swaps. So let's consider this. Maze of Mirrors will go to 3. Mysterio will attack for 2 and a card. We're okay blocking for 2 and a card. But if Doppelganger attacks us, if we have an Energy on top of our deck, we can use Magic Barrier. With Magic Barrier, we'll protect damage and we'll do damage back. That will do 3 damage block, which Doppelganger currently is attacking for only 1. So we can do that. I kind of want to hit Mysterio for some damage as well. So like now with double retaliate, if we do a powerful punch into Mysterio, Mysterio takes 6 damage, which is also really quite good. So we need to start doing damage to Mysterio just so we can get to the end of the scenario. Ideally, we get to the end of the scenario before we deck out. In theory, if we deck out and get the acceleration icon, we lose 1 of our reputation for the reputation track. That is one of the considerations. So we need to go a bit faster here and do a bit of damage to Mysterio. Mysterio scales pretty poorly if you go to the long game because you end up with more cards shuffled into your deck, and cards like Deja Vu, you really just need to close the game sooner than later. And we're not too far off track, so let's try and send some damage. Start of the villain phase, we're going to use Limbo to put Venom on top of our deck. That just has a wild icon, so ensures all of our synergy points are hit. Mysterio attacks now for 2 and a card. We can block pretty well. Magic Barrier. We have all the icons we want on top of our deck. So this is going to prevent 3 damage, do 3 damage back. We have Retaliate 2. So we're doing at least 5 damage to Mysterio here. That does a lot of work while we're still just defending and not taking damage. Boost card is a Deja Vu. This boost icon says reveal the card. Oh, it's here. I hate this card so much. Deja Vu when revealed. Choose to either take 1 damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme. I think we're fine taking a damage. The bad thing will just happen where our deck is thin, so we're likely to draw this maybe even twice more before we shuffle our deck. So that can be an issue. Strong eye contact, 1 good cut. Okay. We took no damage. Top of our deck is a Spiritual Meditation. So Mysterio takes Retaliate 2. Now Evil Doppelganger is going to attack us. We'll do Energy into Powerful Punch. This just says when an enemy initiates an attack, deal 4 damage. So that defeats the Evil Doppelganger. We lose a little Retaliate damage, but it's fine. This is defeated, so we can draw 2 cards here. First card, Meditation. Second card, clear the area. That lines up perfectly. Top card of the deck is a Polaris. We draw 1 encounter card. Master Plan. Oh, this is annoying because it goes through the deck. So place 4 threat on each side scheme. If you don't have one, rip until you find one. So we're going to rip through a bunch of these attachments. A lot of attachments. Uh-oh. Oh, so much for not an acceleration. And with only 2 cards left in the counter deck, we finally find Analysis Paralysis. We'll put this into play. I think at this point, there's no way we're going to be defeating a Mysterio before we get the acceleration icon. So unfortunately, we're going to be losing a reputation point there for the Sinister Motives campaign track. Now, this is a really cool side scheme. It comes into play. It's going to grab your Nemesis side scheme and put that in play too. And this will get additional threat equal to the amount of threat on your Nemesis side scheme. So Analysis Paralysis will have 4 and our side scheme will have 3. And we're working with 2 Amplify icons. There's going to be 3 on this one, which means there's 4 on this one, 3 on this one. And then we reveal Ruler of Limbo, which has another Amplify. So activations are pretty rough here. Ruler of Limbo steals Limbo. But when we defeat Ruler of Limbo, we get Limbo back. So it's not the worst, but it is back to us. We have some threat work to do now. Colossus threats for 2. I think we'd rather clear these sooner than anything else because, well, not only do we get Limbo back, 2 Amplify icons feels a bit bad. So we have Polaris from the top. I'm actually okay playing Polaris from the top because Polaris has 1 thwart, which lines up well. It gives us a toughness, which lines up well. And we're just at the point where Mysterio will advance maybe even this round. So we'll play Strength to play Polaris in the top of the deck. When Polaris enters play, take an X-Men, give him a toughness status. So we'll just make Magik tough here. You can give your allies toughness. It's a bit awkward because if they activate, they lose that on the consequential, but giving it to us seems quite good. All right, so we'll do Polaris, top of the deck, mind you, new. It's a stepping disc. That's good. We're going to draw that. So Polaris will thwart for 1. And then we will X-Jet to clear the area, which clears the side scheme. And so we draw a card. We get Limbo back. I'm pretty sure this gets unexhausted, re-exhausted. I'm not sure how exhaustion is attached to the card itself. I'm going to unexhaust it. But there's a chance that the game knows that it was put under there exhausted. Let me double check, but we draw this. Top of the deck now is Riposte, and the Deja Vu is still coming up. Okay, reading into it, it might still be exhausted. It says if Ileana puts it, attaches it face down here. So I guess it just slides over. I'm not sure. We'll just say it's exhausted. It makes it slightly harder. Interesting to know how that actually gets ruled out. All right, so top of the deck has an energy icon. It's fine if we defeat Jocasta here. Oh, I can't look at my deck. Sorry, I have to shuffle now. I'm so used to looking at my deck, but knowing where the encounter card is bad. So eye contact, cut, top. But yeah, I want to know how many cards are in the deck, which is really hard to check the way things are set up, because I think we're going to draw too many cards here. So we probably just want to do 2 thwart with Jocasta to get Jocasta back into the bin so we can play her again when we cycle out. So if that's the case, we'll just thwart with 2 with Jocasta. We'll activate with Jocasta, thwarting the side scheme. Now, Jocasta is defeated to consequential, and I think I lament not using the riposte that was sitting on Jocasta for feels like a while now. With these 4 cards left, I think we drop the Armored Vest, Corset Classic. This brings us up to 4 base defense, 5 potentially if the top of our deck lines up. We use Colossus to thwart for 2, clearing off analysis paralysis. That's good. We don't like the amplify icon. And while our other basic stats aren't so great, we're going to thwart for 1 off of the main scheme. We're going to ready ourselves by playing a stepping disc. Drop a Soul Sword on top of our deck. Looks like we're going to play that next round. It's a bit ambitious, but we want a bit more damage. And now that we're ready, we'll just do a basic attack for 1 into Mysterio, dropping Mysterio down to 4, and we'll pass the turn. Draw up to 6 cards. Again, Soul Sword, of course. We have the Riposte as well. We're drawing a Magic Barrier. That's really nice to fire now. And we have Venom. Top of the deck, it looks like it's going to be a Deja Vu. We were meant to draw that, so we're going to put that down, draw a different card. We go through the deck, so there's going to be 2 encounter cards waiting for us. Deja Vu, really important card. I think I forget I put this on the table in a second. When I draw it, I'm a bit annoyed, but we're actually really lucky that we drew that right at the time that we bottomed through our whole deck, so that we have to shuffle it once we draw it into our full deck, as opposed to like 4 or 3 cards, and then you end up drawing it twice in like 2 turns. So that actually lined up okay. Last card is a Clear the Area. That's not bad. Jocasta is waiting for us on top of the deck. Okay. So beginning of the enemy phase, the villain phase, do we want to limbo? We can limbo for a riposte off the top. This will do 3 damage. Our retaliate will do 5 damage, which means we will draw a card. I think we're going to go for the swap here. I think we forget to exhaust limbo here, which is a bit of a bummer, but now we're going to be attacked for 2 and a card. While we do have a toughness, we still probably want to play some of our defense cards like riposte, maybe Magic Barrier. And the big thing is if our defense stat actually defends all the damage from Mysterio, we end up taking no damage. And so you actually preserve the toughness, which sometimes is worth doing. We want to be blocking a fair bit. We don't have a stepping disc, so we might actually be exhausted, but our basic activations are not honestly that good. So we'll play the riposte for free. Top of the deck is a Change of Fortune, so we don't get the +1 defense by having a wild or an energy. So we're blocking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we take no damage, we do a bunch of damage. So Mysterio 1, 2. This is Spike Gauntlet, so massive boost, but it's not an illusion. So that's 5 damage. Oh, I should have noticed at this point the deck is actually empty. So we have to take that acceleration icon we're hoping not to get and shuffle this before this gets shuffled back. So this will just be in the bin. But we take no damage here, which means a couple good things are going to happen. So we get to do 3 damage, and then we do Retaliate 2, which defeats Mysterio 2. When Mysterio 2 is defeated, we can do Change of Fortune to draw 2 cards, which we will. It's showing clear the area on the top. And let's see what the other side of Mysterio says. If I'm not mistaken, Mysterio 3 is really strange because it actually has less health. It's true, Mysterio 3 has 16 health. Not often does a villain get less health. It kind of makes sense because you're wearing them down and they get a bit more tired. But yeah, actually we step down here. Now, when revealed, we have to discard the top 5 cards of our deck. Not a huge impact. If you do have a lot of illusions or encounter cards in your deck, that's rough because you'll be drawing all the cards you discard as much as you actually end up drawing more cards into your hand. And here we have the new Bound by Fear, which says that when we add the illusion cards to our deck, if they're boost cards when Mysterio activates, you don't put them on the bottom of your deck, you put them on top of your deck, which that can get pretty bad pretty fast if you get activated a couple too many times in a row. Now, I think we full whiffed on Mysterio's ability. I've been trying to keep track. That's a really easy thing to miss, but I don't think we've got a single illusion card on any activation. But now if we do, it'll be a bit worse for us. Still have 3 encounter cards waiting for us. First one is... boy, at least our deck is big. When revealed, choose to either take a damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme. We're going to go for 1 threat here because I don't want to lose the toughness to this. And then this gets shuffled into any player's deck, which we don't have a lot of choices. So I think I laugh once I remember I knew the Deja Vu was there. We revealed Dark Designs. Now, this won't do too much. When revealed, place a Pursue counter. And then the villain would scheme, but because we have the Confuse, that's not going to happen. Status effects are really good into Mysterio because if Mysterio doesn't activate, Mysterio doesn't reveal boost cards, of course, and that's good for you. Last card, Evil Alliance. Oh, not the worst. So it says each Nemesis minion in play activates. If no minions activated, place 3 pursuit counters. That'll hit 4 pursuit counters. So we're going to go grab our Nemesis, Belasco, who's shuffled back into the deck, and just put Belasco into play. So 6 health. We like minions. Sorry, I got to finish the shuffle really first. So I'll do a cut. Top of the deck. Stepping disc. That's perfect. All right, let's find Belasco. So this is Belasco, of course, 6 health, villainous. And after Belasco activates against you, discard 3 cards of your deck. And if Limbo's there, attach those cards there instead. Okay, back to us. Mysterio only has 16 health. Now, just to make sure that we're on the same page, we want to be getting some reputation maxing here. We've already lost 1 reputation, but there at the bottom are conditions. We want to make sure that when we defeat Mysterio, there's no threat on the main scheme, there are no side schemes, and there are no minions. So 16 health means we'll probably be able to close this off in 1 or 2 turns. Our hand is sick. I don't think I'm ever going to play Venom. We are exhausted, but here we can definitely defeat Belasco and keep ripping through our deck. I'd really like to get a stun on Mysterio. We have clear the area to draw deeper if we want to, but I would love to have a stun and a physical icon on top of the deck. If that's the case, I'm going to start with Polaris just to scheme 1 to thwart 1 off of this. Maybe we'll need the damage off of Belasco. Maybe that's wrong, but I do think 1 Soul Strike with Colossus will deal with Belasco. Then we don't need this riposte. We'll play through the area. So that removes the last threat, which means we draw a card. Of course, we know what we're drawing, but I just want to see the card underneath it. Okay, that's an exorcism. We can still play that. That removes 4 threat. Never mind. We don't want to do that. We have Limbo to set off the top of the deck. I just want to check. Again, we discarded 5 cards and 1 of them was not Soul Strike. So we actually don't have any burst damage here. So maybe we have to play Venom. Might not be the worst way to close the game out is by playing Venom. We also have no card draw, unfortunately. We have the Soul Sword if we want to get more damage on the table to a basic attack. This exorcism, I don't want to play. So I think we're going to have to Limbo to get a cheap card on top of our deck and then just keep drawing deeper. The problem is if we play the top card of the deck, we can't get the card underneath it because we have no card draw. So it might have been right to do clear the area second. I can't tell. Venom is expensive, but we have resource generators and I don't think we're going to be playing most of these cards. So let's Limbo to do a swap. And then we'll just play Soul Sword from the top of the deck for free. This one gives us piercing on our basic attack, which I don't think matters in this scenario, and +1 attack on certain circumstances, but not this one specifically. The top of the deck does not line up with what we want to do. So we will keep Stepping Disc because it's free. So we'll do X-Jet for Exorcism, Change of Fortune, come get me, bub, and we'll actually replay Venom, which I didn't think we would do. So I think Venom is just going to deal with Belasco. So we'll attack for 3, taking 1, consequential. Again, we're going to use Venom's ability as much as possible. Here, if we defeat Colossus, we can put Colossus on top of our deck with Stepping Disc, which I'm okay with that idea. So Colossus is going to attack for 2, dropping Belasco to 1, is defeated. Then we're going to use X-Gene to play Stepping Disc. So we can ready ourselves and grab a magic card, put on top of our deck. It'll be Colossus, ready to be played next round. We'll attack for 1, defeating Belasco, or we could actually let Belasco be defeated by Retaliate, which is kind of more our style. So no, we won't defeat Belasco there. I lament here that we're holding 2 cards in our hand that are kind of wasted. You never want to do that, so that's a bit of a bummer, but I don't know if there's a better turn that turn. We'll attack for 2 and Colossus. We have that +1 attack stack because we have Colossus on top with a wild, and I think we'll just pass our turn. Mysterio's down to 14. We're going to discard Jocasta. We'll hold on to the magic barrier. It's just a lot of damage. Again, we're going to be attacked for sure. We can preserve our toughness. We'll hold on to the barrier, draw up to 6. Got a healthy hand. We have Unflappable on the top of the deck. Definitely a bit too late. We got 2 threat on the main scheme. Mysterio's going to be attacking for, I believe, 2 and a card. Do we want to do a Limbo swap? We will. We'll swap Limbo, the top card of our deck, with Colossus. That sets up the wild icon, which is quite nice. And here I'm going to use X-Gene to play Magic Barrier. Do we also play Riposte? That does so much damage. I think we will block and play Riposte as well. So we'll play both of these. Exhausting to block. So firstly, Magic Barrier says, when an enemy initiates an attack, prevent 3 of that damage and then do 3 damage back. So the villain takes 3. So we're going to be blocking the first 3 damage. We're also going to block and play Riposte, and Riposte says that we block for 2 more. So we're technically blocking for 4, 5, 6, 7. And if we take no damage on this, we're going to be doing 5 damage back because of Retaliate and Riposte. So Mysterio attacks for 1, 2, not an illusion, 3, 4, 5, snitches get stitches. So we take no damage, but Mysterio takes 3, 4, 5. Now Belasco's going to attack with a boost card for 1 and a card. We're just going to lose our toughness to this. We'll get the draw 2 off of the Retaliate. We could put Colossus in the way. I don't think we want to. So attacking for 1 and a boost. Fool's Paradise again, that's 4 boost icons. Unfortunately, that's just our toughness. And that's going to defeat Belasco to Retaliate damage, which means we can change a fortune to draw 2 cards. Change of Fortune is just so much fun. Top of the deck is a Powerful Punch. We draw 1 encounter card. It's a Shifting Apparition. Okay, we have to be a bit careful about this one because we technically have 2 health if the top card of our deck, like right now, has a physical icon or a wild icon. Otherwise, do we want to reveal? Oh, we draw another card, right, because of Venom. So we're not done yet. These should have been ready. Now, Venom says we can use Venom here, and we probably will. Oh, funny enough, after you reveal an encounter card, deal 1 damage to Venom, deal 1 damage to an enemy equal to the number of icons. So Shifting Apparition actually defeats itself to Venom. I think we're going to do that just because the Shifting Apparition has guard. So we're going to use Venom to do 1 damage, to the Apparition, which defeats the Apparition. Second encounter card because of Venom. Deja Vu. Okay, so we have both of these in our deck now. Choose to either take 1 damage or place 1 threat on the main scheme. I'm okay taking a damage here, and we'll shuffle this into our deck, which means the top of our deck will be different. We have now 2 Deja Vus in our deck. That is the worst case. If you get the bottom of your deck, you get to a really bad cascade sometimes if you don't draw them too late. Or if you do draw them too late, you're fine, because then you draw them and then cycle your deck while they're waiting for you on the table. But otherwise, things can be pretty bad. Looks like with no minions here, we can't just full send it. Deja Vu will do 1 damage to do 1 damage. And so all we need to do here is 2 threat and do 5 to Mysterio. That should be trivial. So shuffle, cut. Okay, looks like we have 2 encounter cards waiting for us. The top card of our deck we see is a Deja Vu. And so all we need to do is the requisite damage. So we'll do Unflappable for clear the area. So we'll move to the 2 threat for Maze of Mirrors. Clear the main scheme, so we draw with clear the area. It's a Deja Vu, so we draw a different card. Turns out that one's also a Deja Vu, so we draw a 3rd card there and we get a Legion. Top of the deck, we have a Stepping Disc. And then all we're going to do is attack for 3, attack for 2. And that is Mysterio. Not too bad at all. That was going okay. I don't think the minions are that tough in this one, as long as you don't get illusion bombed. And we actually kind of got lucky that none of the activations of the Mysterio shuffle anything back. Knock on wood that I didn't mess anything up. But having 2 Deja Vus left in the deck does get really bad there the longer you go. So you are incentivized to close the game out relatively quickly. But that's Mysterio, not too bad. Let's check our reputation track here. What are we scoring out here? Victory points in the victory display. We have 2. We got Off the Rails and, of course, a Public Outcry relatively quickly. So that's 2. No side schemes in play, that's 3. Fewer than 1 acceleration icons, no shot. No minions, that's 4. No threat is 5. No defeat identities is 6. That means we're going from 10 to 16. And so we get a couple upgrades. Firstly, we can flip our shield tech upgrade to its enhanced side. I like this. The backside of this is so cool for us. So now Wave Bracers gets upgraded. This is the side that we started on, -1 attack, +1 defense, retaliate steady. And on this side, it's a lot better. We still get the -1 attack, but we get +2 defense and we get retaliate 1 stalwart. Stalwart obviously is very good. We can't get stunned or confused, but +2 defense. I think we're going to slowly become a bit more of a perfect block deck because our stats got there. And our basic activations are not very good. And so doing things in the defense step on the villain phase is a lot better for us. Otherwise, on the bad side, what do we have? Unfortunately, it looks like we're 1 short of the planning ahead, but that also means that we don't have to start with a scenario in play. Sometimes starting with a scenario in play isn't the worst thing because it means you can deal with Public Outcry faster, but we are just short of that. We have to choose another Osborne tech at random. Let me grab those. 5 choices left here. We're going to roll a die. 1 on left, 5 on right. A 4 gives us Arm Cannon. This one's not too bad. Surge attached to the villain. It has 3 boost icons, and it says the attached villain's attack gains Overkill and Piercing. Now, we do have a bit of toughness, so Piercing's annoying. Overkill also means we can't chump block as much as we want to block ourselves. But if we're caught into a double activation and we're not ready, that could be a problem, but not too bad at all. Getting rid of this, we'd have to discard an expensive upgrade. We don't have that many expensive upgrades. And with that, unfortunately, the audio doesn't come back until the end of the video. So that is going to be Mysterio. I was pretty sure this was going to be the easiest villain in the progression so far, and that proved to be the case. The minions didn't get out of hand. We got a lot of good value off of Change of Fortune, really great value. And I think while Mysterio can be fun, you are technically on a clock because once your deck gets really bad, we did get lucky. We didn't draw a lot of illusion boost cards, but it can get out of hand if you do get caught in that illusion pile. And with that, next up is Sinister 6. It's definitely a heck of a fight, and I think we actually have to modify our deck because it does present some pretty unique problems that our deck can't exactly deal with. There's, in fact, 2 minions in the upcoming scenario, and that's something we're going to have to deal with. Thanks so much for watching. If you're appreciating content like this, if you want to leave a like on the video or a comment, that really helps a lot. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear it. And with that, we'll see you in the next one with the Sinister 6. Ciao.